Hi everyone, and welcome back to Riven. Now, it's been quite a while since we picked this one up, but I'm hoping that there'll be plenty of people who really enjoyed this series before so far, and will be carrying on with it. And I've been busy with many videos and so on. If you've not seen this before and you're new to the channel, I would suggest you go back and take a look at the series, because it's quite different to some of the others, and I really like this game. I think it's a really interesting one. It's a great title. I did a whole introduction at the start of this series, and it'd be definitely worth going back and having a look. Right, let's carry on for now. And you remember that before we found another one of these domes here, and we're currently on Crater Island. Now also down here we had our little trap, and there's also a fan running currently. And if we pull this back up, and we'll have a look, see if we caught anything. Not yet. And if we baited it. Yep, we've baited it. We'll send it back down. Now, we did previously find that we could crawl through tunnels, so it stands to reason that we already found that we've powered this fan in this section by the steam pressure from down in the crater. And we can see these steam pipes here running around. There we go, off to the left. And then we can see there's a pipe system coming straight here for us. And you can see it running up to the left here, which is right there on the left, powering the little fan room. Let's have a little explore further along. It's just nice to be back in a game. Well, I don't have to worry about getting killed or stressing out. Now, we do have some kind of mechanical lever here. So let's pull this. Apparently, now that has stopped something. It only has two ways. You can see that the steam pressure pipe is actually powering this, and it seems to be anchored one way or another. Now, potentially, this could have stopped the fan, so let's go back and see. Use our lightning bolt friend. Nope. Evidently the fan is still running. Oh, no, it's not. It sounds like it is, but it's not. So we'll investigate this further. And as previously, we found that our character can fit through very narrow spaces. And this will lead us into this room here. Now, where are we? Some kind of study or workshop or laboratory. And we've got a tram call button right here. And we can see this probably leads back out to the pathway that we were on before. which makes sense because we're adjacent and running parallel along with that. Yep, there we go. You can see also that power mechanism is running this way as well, so the fan is obviously ventilation for this laboratory. Let's just have a little further look along. Ah, and we see that we're back here. Back at Dome Island, we can now see the main huge dome. It's absolutely colossal. Also, we can see that there is a ground level, but you see here there is some kind of structure between as well. Anyway, we want to go back and explore the laboratory further first. And over here we see another island. We can see this island much clearer than we have done so far. And there's some kind of structure here, another area there. So as always with Riven, we want to gain as much information as possible before we move into other areas. It's also worth, as we know, going back and forth between different places to make sure there's no hidden doors or anything like that, like we've seen already. Okay, let's see what we can learn here. Well, first of all, there seems to be some kind of oven machine in the middle here. Or furnace, or kiln. Let's see. I think we can see books. I think we know what kind of books they will be. So evidently, Gehn has been trying to create linking books. And perhaps these are failed constructs. And he's been burning them to prevent them getting into the wrong hands or the right hands. Not trying to open it, I'm trying to close it and put it back in. So the very presence of these linking books kind of it denotes that this is Gehns Laboratory in some manner. Let's see what we've got here. Various scientific apparatus. These look like bonsai shears, actually. Obviously this is the little trap that we found and other various things. Collections of perhaps beetles or things, perhaps for creating inks for his books, perhaps. Little shelves here. And it seems that he's been collecting bird eggs. Never a admirable thing to do nowadays. Oh, I wanted to explore this. Now, this looks like some kind of device. And there we go. And we can actually see halfway about 1/3 full of liquid. And this is obviously the same technology we've seen already, which makes the water move away, or the liquid move away from the energy, the heat source, which is used in Gehns technology on Riven. Right, let's have another look around. More tusks, perhaps, more walk tusks. Gehns' obsession with the walk. Let's have a little look at this desk over here. This looks like book binding of some kind. So this is obviously perhaps where he's been pressing and binding the books. More inks over here. We can see, yes, sort of pressing tools, inks, gels, and gum. Glue, perhaps. This may be a gluing, and so this is where he's binding the books together. So this whole laboratory is a linking book factory, really. It's where he's making them all. Studying wood, and perhaps that's important when it comes to making the materials for linking books. But you can obviously understand why Gehns would want to keep this locked and prevent any Rivenese people from getting in here, and also why he would want to burn any books that were sort of incomplete. Now let's have a little look around this desk. First of all, we have a ball with a symbol, and as before we will note this symbol down. I'll note this in my notebook right now, and we know that we can figure this out from the numbers that we had seen before, and there seems to be a note alongside this, so let's have a look at that. And it says, last week, while monitoring the situation of the villagers from the scope in my survey room, I observed one of the natives swim out to a small object that appeared to be floating, but it was anchored near the entrance of the bay. I ordered the object removed from the water for inspection. Several days later, however, I was surprised to see another floating there. The missing object had apparently and quite mysteriously been replaced with a new one overnight. I've long been aware of the existence of similar artifacts on the villagers' island, but have paid them little notice until now. Tomorrow, I shall send surveyors to catalogue the others. So he's been aware of these spheres and objects appearing around the island, the ones that we have been recording up to now and recording the animal sounds. But obviously Gehns was unaware, and perhaps he underestimated the intelligence of the Rivenese people. Some kind of curious tool here. Looks perhaps like some kind of spear, dart gun, fishing perhaps, not sure. And what else have we got here in the middle? Pods and tea. It could be food, or it could be another part in the bookmaking process. Writing materials, again this could be ink materials. Okay, most importantly though, we have this book, and we can see again burnt embossed with Gehns' favourite symbol, the 5-sided symbol. The latest ink formulation has proven a failure. Even when writing my most promising books, I obtain only the barest glimmer of a connection. It is frustrating to expend so much effort creating a blank book, only to end up destroying it when it doesn't work. There are days when the lab is uncomfortably warm from the flames of failed attempts. The further I refine each element, the formulations of the inks and papers, the physical dimensions of the books, the more I realise that the list of potential combinations is nearly infinite. It is during moments like these that one despair without access to Dunny. My long-term goals may never be accomplished. Nevertheless, there are avenues of research which remain to be explored. I am discontinuing regular observations of the stars beneath the fissure, and we know the fissure, that was the place we could see originally when we came to Riven. Although I've been able to track the dark cloud-like formations that migrate through the starfield, and have proven that their paths are cyclical, without proper instrumentation it is pointless to continue. My general theory concerning the nature of the fissure has remained unaltered since it first appeared. It seems that the fabric of this age has been breached in a way that permits matter to be hospitably exchanged between two discrete but overlapping spaces, much like a link. But the apparent physical contradictions surrounding this juncture defy logical reason. The great column of wind that was first formed when the fissure first appeared suggests a vacuum as one might expect in space. Yet my early experimentations revealed the presence of a breathable atmosphere. That Atris and Catherine threw themselves into the void is further evidence that it might be safe to travel, but without knowing its true nature, I cannot take the risk myself. It is also difficult to say what would happen if I were to reopen it after so long, but it is likely that the result would be catastrophic, given the changes that have occurred in this age since that time. Maintenance on the steam vent caps completed, I am extremely pleased with the continued success of this system. I believe the construction to have been true to the Dunny designs of my memory, another example of the superiority of the Dunny technology. It's ironic that Atris and Catherine unwittingly provided me with such a convenient source of power, obviously by writing the Riven Age. As with many of my views over the years, my thoughts regarding the origin of the fissure have changed. I have recently begun to wonder whether it was actually an unexpected byproduct of the changes Catherine and Atris wrote into this age during their escape. Certainly, by casting their linking book into the void, they trapped me here quite effectively, but I do not believe that Atris intended the book to be lost in this manner. Much better to destroy it than to risk the possibility of its falling into unknown hands. Also, had they foreseen the creation of the fissure, they would surely have thought that the vacuum it created would eventually consume the atmosphere of this planet, a fate which Catherine undoubtedly would have deemed unacceptable for her home world. If I had not been there to supervise the construction of the seal, this is most certainly what would have happened. So obviously, when we arrived in Riven, that object that we were unsure of is actually a seal for the fissure. The villagers were far too frightened to even approach the vortex without my urging. I hold on to the belief that it was unintended consequence of their writing for another reason as well. I prefer to think that my son had meant for this age to be merely a prison for me, rather than a death sentence. The construction of the imagers has proceeded without fault. It is interesting to see how easily I've been able to adapt the Dunny technology to mimic that of the Ahmad. In some ways the similarities between the two cultures was striking. I wonder if perhaps there had been communication or commerce between the two cultures in earlier times. Maybe Keita's people were even descendants of the Dunny, and it pleases me to think so. We can see some of this technology here, the way the images being transferred that we could see in those machines earlier on. It's possible that if I was somehow able to supply the books with a power source of sufficient magnitude, I could suppress the variance enough to facilitate a solid link. It's doubtful that the geothermal cap generators could provide such an enormous surge. Perhaps I could adapt the fire marbles. I've been cataloguing the natural elements of this age for nearly 30 years now. Yet still I continue to find evidence of the Dunny's preoccupation with 5. As a boy, it was very clear to me that the number 5 had a special significance to the Dunny society. From the ancient heraldic emblems of the ruling elite to the humble homes of the commoners, it was ubiquitous. Its presence here is obviously a direct reflection of the minds that designed the texts that I used to compose this age, further proof that through their art of the Dunny masters were indeed creating the marvellous worlds they wrote, and not, as many have mistakenly thought, nearly building links to pre-existing worlds. Again, it's interesting that Gehn makes that observation when he is in fact actually incorrect, that they are in fact links to pre-existing worlds, and by writing them they are just providing a link to an alternate reality and not fully creating the world. And that is why Gehn continues to cause such harm to the worlds he inhabits or goes to. By writing and changing elements, he creates destruction and instability in the world, and that's what we've seen in Riven by the islands breaking apart. While most of my constructions have been based on Dunny designs, I see now that the ones that I have imbued with the power of 5 are clearly the most beautiful, the most perfect, and I believe the most structurally sound. I'm still attempting to determine how the Dunny colour symbology reflects this superior design principle, although superficially it is based on a 6-colour system. I'm convinced that there has to be a deeper connection to 5, and I will continue to investigate. And these symbols here will be very important to us, so we will again record those symbols. You remember, those are the symbols that we've seen on the domes that we've been going around and finding. But again, really, really important that we record these. It may have significance later on. I've finally made a breakthrough. I've succeeded in modifying the fire marbles to generate enough power to hold a descriptive linking book in a stable matrix. I have linked to a new world. It is a harsh and desolate age, but is nonetheless well suited for my purposes, and so I have designated it my, and this is obviously a number which we can decipher by our code. By studying it closely, I believe I will eventually be able to create a more appropriate age for us to resettle on. For now, I'll build an office and set up my living quarters there. in order that I may conduct my experiments in safety and without distraction. And again, this is obviously the building that he's created in this new world. I must admit that I'm proud of my work. To think that in such primitive conditions I've accomplished in 29 years what it took the original Dunny centuries to achieve. Again, just more confirmation of Gehns' self-belief and his own ego as well. Please note, repair outerwear for work on this world. The goggles may need to be redesigned altogether. I began construction on a series of link sites for each island that will connect Riven with my new office on the number. The Survey Guild has finally completed the site location for each island. According to my exact specifications, an installation of the domes is underway at last. Work on the central power source got off to a bit of a bad start, I'm afraid, but the pace has picked up considerably since then, and I anticipate no further delays. I'm looking forward to finally having a civilized mode of transportation. Again, we can see here the symbol, these obviously powering the domes around the island. Due to the rebels' continued disturbances, I've decided to install a coded access system into all of the domes. Now, this symbol here, this is very, very important. This is the access code for the linking books that we have seen in all of the domes. However, what we've been talking about here with the fire marbles, we've learned that these marbles, wherever they may be, are a power source to power the linking books. This is what Gehn was saying was one of his problems in getting the books to function, was finding a sufficient power source to actually power the books. So this gives us a code to unlock the domes themselves, but without finding the correct power source to power the books in the domes, we won't be able to use them yet. This code is unique to each game of Riven, so if you were to play Riven, it would not be the same code. You would have to figure it out. Also notice that the first, second, fourth and fifth symbols are, those are numbers that we've seen already. The third symbol seems to be a combination of other numbers, and we'll be able to decipher that. I'll look at all the numbers and things that we've picked up in this journal on the next episode. I caught one of my assistants looking over this journal today. I'm glad I've chosen to write it in a language that they cannot decipher. Note, discuss security with each guild master. No problems expected from the maintainers, educators and surveyors. The question of the bookmakers and builders more closely. Today I heard several more reports of spirit sightings by some of the villagers. It seems that under Catherine's leadership, the rebels, or the Black Moiety, as the villagers obstinately insist on referring to them, have attained a new level of sophistication in their terror tactics and have renewed their campaign to intimidate the villagers into joining them, playing upon them their shared superstitions. The villagers are certainly susceptible to this form of coercion, especially given of late the rebels' increasing acts of vandalism and theft. The Y-tram traps have been steadily fruitful this year. Apparently the breakup of the islands has not adversely affected the subterranean ecosystems. Unfortunately, I imagine the rebels are experiencing a similarly generous harvest. No shortage of poison for their darts this season. Such morbid issues aside, the sudden availability has allowed me to refine a particularly pleasant extract for my pipe, one that is smoother than any of the others from recent years. So obviously this is what he's doing in his laboratory as well, as creating nice things for him to smoke. Chemical analysis for one of the rebel knives has yielded curious results. Its composition contains elements that are unlike anything I've encountered on the islands. It appears they have access to a resource of which I am unaware, perhaps a mine or uncharted island. Note, most of the knives have been found on the south side of the village. This is the same area in which there have been reports of people mysteriously disappearing. I think a closer inspection of this area is warranted. The fact that they leave these distinctive knives as a sign of their presence concerns me. They're growing more bold and seem no longer to fear discovery of their hideout. So those knives, obviously the knives placed there by Catherine's people, the moiety, and those leave us with clues as to the areas where they may be going to. And you may remember that we found that ringed circled area with the animal markings kind of suggests some kind of, code to unlock some things there. The latest measurements indicate that the recent trend has continued. The movements of the islands has slowed tremendously, and my previous estimates predicted a total collapse in approximately 3 months. But with the new figures I am uncertain. I have nearly finished writing the certain age, and I have every faith that it will indeed be a safe place for us to relocate to. Yet it would be helpful to know what has caused the halt in this age's breakup. Is it possible that it's stable after all? If so, I must discover how this age differs from my less successful attempts. My examinations of the age have thus far proven inconclusive. Or perhaps someone is repairing the damage to the 5th age. If so, it would almost certainly be Atris's doing, and we know that Atris was doing this. I've reluctantly decided to abandon my experiments into the behaviour of the water of this age, as there are more pressing matters on which I must now concentrate, leaving my little time for such speculative research. For future reference, however, my investigations up to this point have revealed the following. I believe the remarkable properties of the water to be caused by a life form that resides in it, which is interesting, specifically a type of bacteria. I'm imagining a motile unicellular organism, but one which structure is capable of holding bits of water, whose combined effect via surface tension or a stronger force causes the composite body of water to move in response to heat. Prolonged exposure to extreme heat, for example, a period of extended boiling, seems to kill the bacteria, which would explain its dramatic aversion to heat sources. Unfortunately, these theories are still not fully tested, and I remain ignorant of both its deeper nature and its possible uses. An exciting development. Last night, a squad of maintainers stumbled upon a lone rebel scout and obtained from him a most incredible device. It is a crystal that somehow powers these flawed linking books, much as my own system does, but with an obvious advantage. It is small and weighs only a few pounds, making it completely portable. Catherine must have fabricated the device before I captured her. Obviously, with an explicit deny schematic, she must have brought with her to this age. If only I'd had access to such a document after all these years. Regardless, I can now concentrate solely on the writing of ages, and need no longer worry about building elaborate power supplies for each new book I write. This is a sobering reminder, however, that I must continue to seek an avenue to Denis. Regaining access to the resources that may be crucial to the completion of my mission. And this strange object here, this could be an island, or actually it looks more like that piece of wood, or it could just be a linking book idea. So quite a long journal there, but lots and lots of important information. There isn't tons and tons of books dotted around. So we've learned quite a lot today. I'm going to go out through this door now. And we can see the mine railway system from Forest Island, or Village Island. It runs up here to here, and we can see the dome over here. But I think what we really want to do is go and have a little investigate of this island here. So when we come back, I will go through the symbols that we found, and we'll give the numbers for those. We'll also take a note of the eye symbols, and that may require a little bit of going back and double checking that. I think the eye symbols are now, look, we didn't call the tram. I'm going to have to go back now and call the tram. As I said when I first started this, I remember a few things about this game, but it's been a very long time since I actually played this game, many years. So there are things that I do not remember. One of which is whether those eye things are relevant or not, but that is the whole point of Riven, is that this game, the puzzles in this game are complicated, and every piece of information is really critical. So whether or not it actually turns out to be useful or not, it's very important that you record these elements. Right, we're just going to call the tram, and then we're going to go back down. Right, tram should be now running on its way. And hopefully, when we go back down there, it's going to be there. Positive thing is that we've unlocked these doors now, so if we need to get back in here again, we will be able to. The other good thing is that we've explored nearly all islands now, and we also have got the unlock code for the domes themselves. So literally it's going to be a case of finding out how we can power those domes, and then we can use them. which will be quite a big thing for us to be able to actually use the domes. So hopefully we're coming to not too far away from getting towards the end. There is still a fair bit to do, but I feel like we've made some very, very good progress. The other good thing is that we've actually found most of our animal symbols now, I believe. I think I need to have an episode where I collate the information that we've gathered so far, find out what we know. Just for myself as well, having had a little bit of time away from this game, I think I need to go back through our notes. And just find out what information we've learned so far so that we can take it forward. Right, off we go to the next island. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, guys, and I'll see you for some more Riven very soon.